Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. My name is RepeatRon, and today we're going to be talking about Deep Rock Galactic. This time we're going to be doing 100 tips and tricks for Deep Rock Galactic. This is aimed more towards newer players than necessarily veterans, but hopefully there's one or two tricks that can also help them out. So let's get right into the list. Number 1. Impact axes, drills, and the pickaxe all count as melee towards the vampire perk, meaning that if you're playing Driller, you have access to 3 of these. If you're playing other classes, unfortunately you only have your pickaxe. But if you do need to get health as Driller, throwing axes can be an option to get you health quickly, as well as your drills can, especially if enemies are frozen. Number 2, impact axes can be used to clear mushrooms and other environmental hazards, like the blue crystals that shoot lightning. To do this, simply throw your axe at them. You don't even need to be all that close when throwing the axe. Just so long as the axe is in the general area of the mushrooms, they will clear them, and then you can go and pick your axes back up because this does not count as using them. Number 3, resupplying impact axes. If you have more than 4 impact axes while you're running Driller and you call in a resupply, you can throw your axes into the ground or walls nearby. Make sure you do this because every time that you resupply, you'll get 4 more axes, meaning that you can go back and pick up the rest of the axes if need be. This is a great way to manage your axes, which are probably one of your best burst damage options. Number 4. Engineers can refill other engineers' turrets. So long as you have extra ammo, and so long as you walk up to the turret, you can start to refill it. Number 5. Hover boots can actually be used as a weapon. Most of the time you want to be using this to prevent falls or to harvest minerals somewhere where it's difficult to get them if you're playing somebody like Scout. But you can use hover boots as a weapon. Simply be slightly above the enemy and use them, and you'll deal fire damage to anything directly below you. Number 6, you can use the EPC for mining. For this, you're going to need the ability Thin Containment Field, which is a mod in Tier 5. Simply aim close to where you wish to mine your minerals, charge up a shot, fire it, and then fire at that shot once again. You actually don't need to be the one that hits your Thin Containment Field. Other classes can hit it too. This does a lot of AoE damage to any enemies, but it also breaks up any ground nearby. So if any minerals are on that ground, it will fling them away. This does not reduce the amount of minerals that you get from doing this either. They're just a little bit harder to find. Number 7, C4 can also be used for mining. Simply throw C4 on or near whatever minerals you would like to mine and let it explode. Again, make sure nobody's close and your minerals will go flying somewhere, but you can mine very fast. This is great if you get a Crassus detonator and you need to mine all that gold really quick. Number 8, Engineer's Grenade Overclock Fat Boy can also be used for mining. This one also does environmental damage similar to the Thin Containment Field, so simply aim this at whatever materials you'd like to harvest, fire it at it, and watch the nuclear cloud go. Number 9, you can pick yourself up with Iron Will, and if you heal yourself during the duration of Iron Will, then you will not go down a second time. And it's important to note that you cannot take any sort of damage while Iron Will is going. To get your health back, you can do this from finding red sugar, getting a resupply, or using the perk Vampire to get your health back. This is great if you can use your Iron Will to pick yourself up, pick somebody else up, and then melee something with your pickaxe so then you can remain standing. Number 10, the perk Dash removes all slows. This includes environmental slows as well as enemy slows. So if you manage to get webbed or if you get hit by a slasher, you can use Dash to get out of that. But if the duration is longer than the duration of Dash, you will then be slowed at the end of it. Number 11, the IFG grenade from Scout counts as electricity damage towards all enemies. This includes things like Dreadnoughts. This also includes the Cave Horror as well. So if you have any weapons like the Zukovs, which get bonus damage from an enemy being electrocuted, then the IFG will count as this. The IFG actually doesn't do any damage though, so the electricity is simply the status effect put on the enemies. Number 11, with the perk Beastmaster you can tame a grunt, but this is not only a regular grunt, you can also tame slashers and you can tame guards. Slashers will do more damage, as well as they have the slowdown effect whenever they hit an enemy, and guards have the front-facing armor, as well as just a lot more health than regular grunts. Once the armor is broken, though, on the grunt, he does not regenerate it once he becomes a Steve. And Beastmaster does not work on elite versions of the grunts, so don't try it. Number 13, with the hazard of regenerative bugs, if you have Beastmaster and you have a Steve, your Steve also has regeneration. This also technically works if there's parasites where your Steve will have parasites, but the parasites inside Steve will not fight for you. They will still fight against you like every other parasite. Number 14, the flare gun can be used as a weapon. It's not a great weapon, but you can use it as a weapon if needed. Number 15, bugs will avoid Gunner's shield even if you have the shield disruption mutator. This means that throwing down a shield to res people is still a great option, even on those missions, and it's great for your team to hold up in. Number 16, if you really need money, be sure to look out for the mutator that has parasites or Swarmageddon with golden bugs. Swarmageddon with golden bugs will net you thousands of gold pretty much every time that you do it. And parasites can also net you thousands of gold. Number 17, falling damage. Falling damage is the most common way to die in Deep Rock. Now, there are multiple ways to avoid falling damage. You can get the Daily Beer Tunnel Rat, which will reduce the amount of fall damage that you take. Scout has a passive on their armor that will make it so they take less fall damage. Falling on top of another dwarf's head will reduce any fall damage regardless of distance, so will grabbing onto a ledge falling from any distance. You can also prevent your fall by slowing down your momentum. In things like low gravity, you take less fall damage. Also with certain overclocks like the RJ250 on the grenade launcher for Engineer, or the special powder for the boomstick for Scout, you can reduce or completely mitigate falling damage with either of these overclocks. It will take some getting used to, but you can do it. Number 18, power attacks from the pickaxe damage the oppressor no matter where you hit them. You don't have to hit an oppressor in the weak spot. Any part of its body that you hit with the pickaxe, at least with a power attack, will count towards damage all over the oppressor. You will still get more damage if you hit the weak spot though, so it's ideal to aim for there. Number 19, getting familiar with your settings. At the space rig or on missions, you can change your settings. So you can change your FOV, you can change your UI, whether that be scaling, you can also turn on and off a profanity filter, and you can even disable the copyright music on the jukebox. Tip number 20, enemies damage as well as enemies movement speed scales with difficulty as well. Enemies damage starts out at 50% at the lowest and up to 3.4 times at the highest. This is with 4 dwarfs. Number 21, the corrosive sludge pump's sludge is flammable, meaning that any heat source that hits the sludge will light it on fire so that you can deal extra damage. Number 22, freezing any flying enemy will instantly kill it. It doesn't matter how large the enemy is, even if it's something as big as a breeder, you can kill it if it gets frozen. Same goes with all the Mactera and of course the jellyfish. Number 23, lighting any of the robots on fire will instantly kill them. This goes for any of the robots, so whether this be the turrets or the flying robots, if you light them on fire, they will die instantly. Number 24, with the Plasma Burster Missile Overclock for Gunner's Hurricane, you can one-shot the flying rocks on escort missions. I don't know if this is a feature or if this is a bug, but you can do it right now, so either way, it's pretty cool. Number 25, thermal shock can trigger both ways. What thermal shock is a mechanic in the game where if an enemy is either frozen or on fire, and then the opposite happens to it, so if it was frozen and then caught on fire, it will deal massive damage to the enemy. Same goes with the reverse. You can do the same amount of damage either way. Number 26, be sure to use Gunner's Shield to push objectives. You can use this on practically any map. You can use this to hold areas like on a salvage mission or on an escort mission. You can also use this to restart the hacking pod on the hacking vaults. Number 27, only one person needs to repair Dottie in the escort missions. You don't seem to get any bonus for having multiple dwarves working on Dottie, so it's best if one person focuses on working on Dottie rather than the whole team trying to work on it. Everybody else should probably be trying to kill as much of the swarm as possible, unless of course they're completely out of ammo, in which case they should probably be the one repairing it. Number 28, bunkering and overhangs. If you're playing the Engineer and you have the platform guns repetitive additive on your tier 3 mod, you can then set up either an overhang or a bunker on objectives. If you do this, bugs will purposely try to avoid stepping across your platforms. However, you don't want to make this too big because the more platforms you have, the less likely that bugs are going to ignore this. They'll probably start walking over it. So if you can do a small overhang directly above an objective, this is probably the most ideal. Number 29, recalling your turrets as Engineer will fully reload them. You will need to set them back up again, but this is faster if you plan on moving locations and setting your turrets up quickly. Number 30, the rolling bugs can't be frozen, at least not in the normal sense. They can still have a fully frozen status effect, which means they will take extra damage from all sources because any enemy that is frozen will take more damage, but they cannot be frozen solid like so many other enemies. Number 31, reload canceling. With certain weapons, you can reload cancel. To do this, simply reload your weapon and wait for the ammo to go into the gun. You can see this indicated down at the bottom. Once the ammo is in the gun, press your pickaxe attack and then release it immediately, and you will have a faster animation, at least with certain weapons. I found that this works incredibly well with the Warthog from Engineer. Stubby works okay from the Engineer. The Loki also works quite well from the Engineer. GK2 is mildly faster. The M1000 is quite a bit faster, and the autocannon is quite a bit quicker. Most other weapons, the reload is not as noticeable. Number 32. With the perk Born Ready, you also reload all of your equipment as well. So you can have this reload things like your zipline gun, or reload your flare launcher, or reload your platform gun. Very good on all those classes. It will not reload something like your drills though. Number 33. With the Loki, you have an option of taking the electrochemical rounds. This gives you 20% more damage when an enemy is on fire or electrified. Now this damage counts towards both, so you get more damage if an enemy is on fire and being electrocuted. Keep that in mind when you consider your loadout with this weapon. Number 34. Sticky grenades thrown by the gunner have pretty much a guaranteed chance of fearing any enemy. So if you throw this on a Praetorian, there's a good chance that it will turn around, run away, exposing its weak spot and taking damage from the grenade. Number 35. On the topic of grenades, we have the Lure. The Lure grenade can lure up to 10 enemies at one time. Now, this means it can only occupy 10 enemies at once, but if you keep killing enemies around the Lure, more enemies can come to it, but it can only support a maximum of 10 enemies at one point. Number 36. Once you have picked up, you have 3 seconds to where no enemy can injure you. This is to prevent an enemy from insta-downing you again. With the tier 4 mod on the suit, you can take breathing room, which doubles this to 6 seconds. This can be very important if you need to get to red sugar or if you need to get a resupply. Sometimes you can do this before you go down again. Number 37. You can retrieve undetonated proxy mines. So long as the proxy mine has not gone off at all, you can then pick it up. Number 38. Friendly fire is scaled with difficulty. Friendly fire is increased by 10% per difficulty for the first 4 levels. So at level 1 hazard, it's 10%. At level 2, it's 20%. Level 3, it's 30%. And level 4, it's 40%. And then on hazard level 5, it goes up to 70%. Number 39. You can get a total of 9 overclocks per week from doing missions. 3 from the Elite Deep Dive, 3 from the regular Deep Dive, and 3 from the weekly core hunt. You will get 3 cosmetic overclocks, 3 weapon overclocks that are random, and 3 blank matrices. Number 40. Every 5 overclocks that you forge, you will get 1 additional overclock that switches between cosmetic and weapon overclocks. If you have all of either of the cosmetic or the weapon overclocks or both, then this will start giving you blank matrix cores in exchange for every 5 overclocks that you make. 41. On low oxygen missions, Molly is not the only source of oxygen. You can also get oxygen from Doretta, you can get oxygen from the drop pod, and most importantly, you can get oxygen from resupply crates. Even if the resupply crate has been completely used up, so make sure that these are in strategic locations, that way your team can fall back to them so that you can actually breathe and not worry about running out of oxygen. Number 42. Environmental damage also scales with difficulty. The higher difficulty that you're playing on, the more environmental damage that you will take. On the lowest difficulty, you're only taking 75% damage from the environment. On Hazard 2 and 3, you're taking 100% of the environmental damage. On Hazard 4, you're taking 33% more damage. And on Hazard 5, you're taking double damage from environmental hazards. Number 43. If you freeze a bulk detonator and destroy it, it will not destroy the ground. It will explode, but the explosion itself will not deal any damage to you or anything around it. However, it will send you flying, which the gravity in turn could deal damage to you. Number 44. You can use the platform gun for stopping the rocks on the escort missions. Simply create a bridge out to it, usually from the wall, and so long as it's high enough up from the drill dozer, it will hopefully not take that much damage from the rocks exploding. If it's too low, it will still take damage from the rocks exploding. Number 45. As Scout, you can stop falling damage by using your grappling hook simply on the ground. Doesn't matter how fast you're falling or how far you're falling, you can stop the damage by shooting your grappling hook at the ground. Number 46. All grenades are affected by low gravity. For some grenades, this really doesn't matter. Something like the Lure, who cares if it's affected by low gravity? Same goes with something like the proximity mines. However, this can throw your aim off with something like the impact axes, and it can certainly make the cluster grenades more scary for your teammates. Number 47. You can manually cool down the minigun as gunner by hitting the reload button. If you've been shooting the minigun for a while, hit the reload button, and your gunner will start to spin the gun. This cools the gun down a little bit faster than it normally would. Number 48. Be sure to check out the Daily Beer. The Daily Beer will give you a bonus on the next mission that you go on. If you take it on a deep dive, it will count for all 3 missions. So if you find something like Dark Morkite, you'll get extra Morkite on any sort of mining mission. If you take Tunnel Rats, you'll take reduced fall damage for the next mission. Number 49. Getting used to the terrain scanner. You can use the terrain scanner to figure out where teammates are, as well as to see exactly how much gold you've mined and how much nitro that your team has. You can also check out your teammates' equipment to see how they're doing on supplies. You can also use this to ping anything if you want to do a particular objective, or if you just want to commence the ritual. Number 50, you can have Bosco mine for you. Simply ping any sort of material that you would like Bosco to mine. So long as you're close enough to it, he should start mining. If you're not, then he will light up an area near it. This can also be used to acquire things like Quarks on point extraction missions and alien eggs on the egg hunts. Number 51, Bosco can also build pipelines. So once a pipeline is set up, you can tell Bosco to start building it, and he will continue building it up to the point where you've got, whether that is at the pumping station or just simply up to where you have placed the pipes. Number 52, learning the map. This one is a bit of a tricky one, but it does come in handy when you're trying to learn the map. You can do this to figure out where objectives are. You can also use it to see which way a dirt cave leads. That way you can dig in the right direction rather than having to try to dig through the wall to figure out where it is. The way that I've found the easiest to read the map is simply hold the map open and kind of spin it around both on the X and Y axis. This allows you to see the most amount of stuff around the map and kind of tells you where to go. Number 53, on salvage missions, there's almost always a partially used resupply crate somewhere. You can sometimes find this by looking on the map, and if you do find it, you can repair it. There's usually between 1 and 2 supplies left in it. 54. You can call in a resupply pod to get things that are high up on the ceiling. You can use this to knock eggs out of the ceiling, mine nitra or mine gold on the ceiling, or you can use it as an orbital weapon against dreadnoughts. It's a bit more difficult to do that last one, and I wouldn't recommend doing it on the high difficulties because it's usually quite dangerous to do, but you can do it. Number 55. The sticky goo in the fungus bog that appears naturally on the ground, as well as the deep snow in the glacial strata biome, can be used to stop your fall. If you land in either of these, it will reduce the amount of fall damage that you take. Number 56. Falling damage is not determined by the amount of distance that you have fallen, but more the velocity at which you are falling. So something like low gravity, you don't take as much damage. However, if you flung yourself somewhere with something like special powder, you can potentially break your legs much worse than you normally would. Number 57. 2 of the overclocks for the cryo cannon are the ice spear and the snowball. I get this question a lot, but to use either of these, you simply press the reload button and wait. It does take a second for either of these to go off. Number 58. Power attacks from the pickaxe can be used to mine any surface with one swing. This can be important if you want to mine gold, because you can mine it faster with this. It can also be important if you're trying to mine precious materials like Krappa or Magnite or whatever it might be. You can break them a little bit quicker this way. Tip number 59. If you walk up to a loot bug and push E on it, at least on the keyboard, then you can pet the loot bug. If you pet a loot bug enough, sometimes it spits out a little bit of nitra, sometimes it spits out a little gold. It's not going to be as much as actually killing the loot bug and taking its resources, but it is a cool option that you can do to the loot bugs. Number 60, on deep dives and elite deep dives, if you have a perk that has uses, then each level of the deep dive, those uses will be reset. So you can use Iron Will a total of 3 times throughout a deep dive, you can use Heightened Senses a total of 6 times, and so on and so forth. Number 61. Deep dives have different difficulty scalings than normal missions. For a regular deep dive, your first level is on Hazard 3, your second level is on 3.5, and your third level is also on 3.5. You're also guaranteed 2 warnings on 2 of those deep dive missions. On elite deep dives, your difficulty is 4.5, 5, and 5.5 with 2 to 3 warnings. Number 62. You can tell the amount of swarms that you're going to get based on the amount of eggs in an egg hunt. With 4 eggs, you're guaranteed 1 swarm. With 6 eggs, you're guaranteed 2 swarms. And with 8 eggs, you're guaranteed 3 swarms. Number 63. You can also tell how many stops that you're going to make with the drill dozer. Simply look at the length of the mission of the drill dozer. If it's a full-length mission, that means you're going to have 2 stops. If it's anything less, you're going to have 1 stop. Number 64. Deep dives are the same for everyone, meaning that you will get the same missions in the same order for everybody, as well as the same mutators on every mission. That's not to say every mission is laid out exactly the same, nor is it to say that all the materials or all the enemies will be exactly the same. They will vary from person to person. Number 65. You can throw cups from the bar into the basketball hoop and get 1 point. So if you're going for the high score achievement, this is one way to potentially cheese it, I guess. It's going to take a while, but you could do it. 66. Each mutator has its own bonus XP, with Shield Disruption, Haunted Cave, and Elite Threat giving the most at 30%. Number 67. Pots of Gold Drink only affects the gold that you mine with a pickaxe. It does not affect the gold that you have Bosco mine, what you mine with C4, or with the EPC mining, only with the gold that you actually mine with your pickaxe. Number 68. You can get bonus experience from doing the events and not succeeding them. So long as the mission has completed, whether that means that you won or you lost, you will still get experience at the end of each mission. Number 69, you can stack the damage reduction buff from Veteran Depositor with the Tier 5 autocannon mod that also gives you damage reduction when the autocannon is firing at full rate of fire, meaning if you're hugging close to Molly or the rig, damage to you will be significantly less. With the right overclocks, you can have Scout fly. For this, you're probably going to want hover clock and special powder. This is for the M1000 and the double barrel boomstick. This allows Scout to practically stay in the air forever, especially if you combine this with the perks Born Ready and with hover boots. You really never need to touch the ground. Is this useful? Potentially. Is it fun? Absolutely. Number 71. Any gold or nitra that you have in your dwarf at the end of the mission is counted towards your XP and your money at the end of that mission. So don't worry about putting the last bit of gold or nitra that you have on the outside of the pod at the end of each mission. Just get into the pod. It will count towards your scores at the end. Number 72. Dreadnoughts have a very small % chance of spawning in any other mission besides eliminations and where they're guaranteed. This is a 1.5% chance. For me, this has happened, usually on point extracts. Number 73. During the escort missions with the beamer crystals, you only need to break the tip of them to get them to stop firing. Certain weapons can do this incredibly easy, like the Hurricane and the minigun. Other weapons, it might take a little bit longer to do. You can, of course, break the beamers with your pickaxe, but this is going to take longer unless, of course, you power attack just the tip of it, which Scout can do very easily. Number 74. XP rates are different based on the missions that you're doing, with Escort having potentially the most amount of XP that you'll gain if you're doing a very long escort, and Short ACONs having the least amount of XP that you're guaranteed to get from completing the mission. This does not include all the things that you mine, all the things that you kill, or any bonus events that you do, meaning that shorter missions could still potentially get you more experience than longer missions. And of course, if you're looking for more experience and trying to level up faster, be sure that you're looking out for the double XP multiplier. Number 75. Every gold and nitra that you mine equals 1 extra experience point. This also counts towards extra morkite that you mine. Every mineral that you mine counts towards 2 XP, so things like Croppa and Bismore will count towards this, as well as every secondary objective that's not from mining will count as 3 experience. So for every Bulu cap that you add in, you'll get an extra 3 experience. Number 76. On salvage missions, whenever you fix up a mini mule, you're guaranteed between 40 and 60 nitra and gold whenever you fix them. Number 77. With the perk Berserker, you can use this to surprisingly mine fast if you need to get to an objective or if you need to get through a dirt wall quickly. So consider this next time that you take this perk. It does have some utility outside of just being a great perk for killing crowds and big enemies. Number 78. If you're playing multiplayer, be sure to ask if everybody's ready before you do something that might get your team killed. So this is starting a dreadnought, getting an egg, and so on. Number 79. Be sure to ask for extra resupplies if you're playing multiplayer as well from the resupply pod. This is common sense, but sometimes lower leveled players will just panic grab a resupply because they're low on health, and if they have all the bullets and are dying, that's obviously not that great for the team. And number 80, last of our common courtesy tips here, make sure to always ask before you call in the drop pod for teammates. Teammates might be wanting to do objectives, or have events, or whatever else might be going on, looking for lost equipment. Make sure that everybody's ready before you call in the drop pod, because once that starts, everybody pretty much has to leave. Red sugar can be shot down from the ceiling or from any high place. You can then pick this up. This, once again, is easier done with certain weapons like the Hurricane, potentially the autocannon, minigun. Things like that can knock the red sugar down, making it easier for teammates to get it. This can also be done for various materials. 82. Be sure to look out for these little crystals in the walls. These can lead to special materials like jadeds, pearls, gold chunks, bitter gems, and sometimes even rare cubes. 83. In the Azure World, you can fly with the Cave Angels. Simply walk up to them, grab them, and then you can steer them wherever you'd like to go. You can also technically grab these to stop yourself from falling. You just have to hope one is close and that you can grab it before you hit the ground. 84. If you're on PC and you're in the space rig, you can hit the tab key and go right to the mission select. This means you don't have to go to the main board to do it. You can set it up anywhere, so whether you're at the bar drinking or upstairs in the memorial hall, you can ready up a mission for everybody. 85. As the engineer, be sure that you're placing plenty of platforms around the area. pretty much at any materials that you see high up, especially if you have a scout with the team, because this will not only mark the area for teammates to know that there's something up there, but it will incentivize your scout to grapple hook up there and mine those materials. 86, you can use the zip lines to stop yourself from falling. You can use this to jump to different zip lines as well. This can be a little bit difficult and you have to aim yourself just right, but it can be a lifesaver when it does work. 87, always remember to rock and stone whenever there is a new miner joining the team. This not only boosts morale, but it also incentivizes everybody to work as a team. And it's fun. 88, as a scout, be sure that you're using your flare gun to light up the area. You don't need to use up all your flares, but just make sure that there is light in dark areas where your team is generally hanging out. This also goes for hordes. It can be very useful for your team to spot threats far away, like leeches or any sort of spitting enemy. 89, as the driller, you can use your drills to go right to the escape pod. Simply line up where the escape pod is and drill right to it. This can be one of the fastest and most effective ways to get out of any bad situation because the tunnels make it so enemies are less likely to be able to funnel in there. And even if they are, it makes it pretty easy for your teammates to just fire backwards while you're drilling forward. Number 90, remember, your guns can run out of bullets. Your pickaxe can't. Be sure to use your pickaxe pretty often. If you have the power attack for your pickaxe, make sure you use it against any straggling enemies or any enemies that get right up in your face. Even on the highest difficulty, this can one-shot grunts with the body, and it usually stuns stuff if it doesn't outright kill them. Number 91, be sure to join the official Deep Rock Galactic Discord. This not only gives you updates to what the developers are doing, as well as a great community to be a part of, but this also actually gives you bonuses in the game. Every other month or so, you will get extra bonus rewards, including money and materials for your dwarf. Number 92, remember that getting drunk before a mission will carry into any mission. The more drunk you are, the more severe this will be during the mission. This can be really fun, but it can also be quite challenging if you're completely drunk. 93, a resupply costs 80 nitra. This should be your first priority on pretty much every mission. This way you don't have to worry about getting extra bullets, and it can also be really useful on something like low oxygen, where you can use it as a oxygen resupply. 94. With Engineer's Breach Cutter, you can shoot through any object. So if there's rocks in the way and there's an enemy behind it, you don't have to worry about it. Simply fire at the rock and the Breach Cutter will go right through it and into the enemy. 95. If you're fairly new to the game, the first thing that I'd recommend that you do is get one of your dwarfs promoted. It really doesn't matter which class you plan on promoting, but once a dwarf is promoted, it pretty much unlocks the rest of the game for you. You can get access to overclocks to make your weapons potentially stronger. You can get access to the weekly assignments, like the core hunt to get more overclocks, or the weekly assignment that gives you more materials. It also opens up perk slots for you. 96. Other classes can build Engineer's Turret. You don't need to be building your own turrets, or you don't need to be building your own turrets alone as Engineer. The more people that you have building the turret, the faster it will go up. 97. Be sure to check out the daily deals at the Space Rig. Most of the time, this will get you a good deal and will be more efficient than trading either money or materials for whatever you're getting. 98. In the Haunted Cave Mutator, you can slow down the ghost with either the IFGs, turret discharge, or the sludge pump. Any slowdown effects will still affect the horror. 99. Remember to switch between your weapons pretty often. This goes for your primary as well as your secondary, and be sure to use your grenades. You'll get the most out of your resupply, and you'll probably need resupply less often. And for number 100, as the driller, you can use your drills to actually block spitballer shots. This is pretty handy to do, and it's actually quite reliable. You can also block these shots with your pickaxe, but you're going to need some really good timing. That was 100 tips and tricks for Deep Rock. Hopefully some of these helped you out. Hopefully these weren't all just super obvious ones that you all knew about. And thank you guys so very much for watching this. I really do appreciate it. Special thanks to the supporters of this channel. These are my members over here on YouTube and my patrons over on Patreon. They get early access to videos like this, and if you would like to be a part of that, there are links down in the description. Thank you so much for watching this. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.